Hey there, I'm Justin Russo, and this is Check Your Luggage. Boy, oh boy, those have got to be some of the best noodles I have ever tasted. I'm eating at Gohei, which is one of 9 food outlets in Japan Village, which also consists of a pastry shop, a supermarket, and a bar. The mere existence of this place comes as no surprise, as the New York metropolitan area is home to the largest Japanese community on the East Coast of the US, and I am 100% here for it, as am I for these noodles.
I am so delighted to welcome to the show Erina Yoshida, who's a member of the family responsible for Japan Village. Erina, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for being here.
So tell me, how did Japan Village come about?
So we slowly opened in 2018. It is a destination for all things Japanese. So we have a food hall that caters to 9 vendors, a market called Sunrise Mart. We also have a restaurant called Waku Waku, a cocktail bar called Oldies, as well as a Japanese liquor shop called Kuraichi.
That's fantastic. And I've been lucky enough to sample some of the food here, and it really is incredible, and the experience.
Thank you.
So what is it about Japanese culture that makes it so popular in New York?
I think it really started with the food culture. So, at the beginning, sushi was really not well known. And I think from there, over the few years, it's just flourished a lot, from sushi to ramen, sake, now izakaya, so kind of Japanese pub style cuisine. It also definitely is a city. New York City really is a melting pot, and I think the fact that it really attracts a lot of people from different industries, including the art world. So many animation, there's also nail artists, people that are hairstylists from Japan also kind of started moving here for an opportunity, and I think it just kind of meshed well with the American culture here.
The city is definitely, you're right, takes on a lot of different cultures and has flourished.
Definitely.
So you were born in New York but traveled to Japan often. What are some of the biggest similarities and also some of the biggest differences between the two?
I would say the first difference that I would see is the cleanliness of both, the countries. The city in Tokyo, there's no garbage on the floor.
Right.
If you do have garbage, you'll kind of carry it in your purse until you find a garbage bin. But I would say the main difference between the Japanese and American culture, in Japan, we really have this mentality there called Ichigo Ichie. It's a concept where it is kind of a once in a lifetime. So if you do encounter someone, you give them the service, the hospitality, as though you'll never meet them again.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So that kind of really flourishes throughout all these different industries in Japan, especially in the hospitality industry. Also tea ceremonies as well. You give and make Japanese green tea with matcha during a tea ceremony and serve that to a customer, letting them know, thank you very much for coming. This is the last time we may meet, but we want to give you an unforgettable experience.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And lastly, are there any plans to bring Japan Village to other locations?
We do not at the moment have any plans to bring Japan Village to other locations, but we are planning on expanding per se into more Japanese culture. So we're very much looking forward to that.
I'd like to thank you so much for joining me
Thanks
and
so much
also
for
for letting me indulge in those delicious noodles.
Thank you.
In fact, you have inspired me so much, I'm gonna head to the supermarket and take home some of those amazing flavors. Japan Village has given me so much inspiration for a visit to Japan. For LGBTQ+ travelers, it is an absolute safe space with many parts of the country aimed at welcoming queer travelers. One such region is Osaka, which is roughly 400 miles west of Tokyo and just south of Kyoto. In fact, it was just named an IGLTA Travel Destination of the Year for 2021. With a massive campaign across LGBTQ+ platforms aimed at welcoming queer guests. Why don't we have a look at what the city has to offer?
Wow, I cannot wait to visit Osaka. It is truly remarkable to see a region work so hard in making the LGBTQ+ community feel so welcome. But of course, it's important to remember that not everywhere is going to be as welcoming. And that's why I've invited our next guest, Dawn Ennis, to chat with us and help us navigate some of the choices that have to be made by some of us as we choose to travel to more and more countries.
Dawn, thank you so much for joining us.
So glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about what you do.
I'm a journalist. I'm also a professor and a mom of 3 kids.
That's quite the expensive amount of work. Congratulations on that. So now as a trans traveler, what are certain things that appeal to you when deciding to go to different locations?
The first thing I do is I do my homework. So I check the State Department website. I check with LGBT travel agents, not just any travel agent who is LGBT friendly, but an actual LGBT travel agent, because they know they'll have my back, and I know they'll have my back. In addition to that, the thing that I do is research, homework. I look at the websites of the countries I'm visiting. I look at articles. I was quoted in the New York Times about traveling while trans. So I know a little bit about this stuff, and as a reporter, I've also written about it. And it can be problematic.
Are there any advice you can give then in terms of trans travel? Or is it sort of overall for the LGBT community?
You'd be surprised that in some places in the world, a gay man will be more oppressed than a transgender traveler, as long as I'm straight. If I'm trans and lesbian, or if a trans man is gay, he'll face the same obstacles you would face traveling around the world. the most important thing I would say is do your homework, find someone who you can trust, who has your back. And what I do personally is, when I was traveling before I came out or before I had my surgery, I was very upfront with the people at the TSA in America because I didn't want to get called an anomaly. That thing between my legs, I'd get pulled out of the line because their machines only think women have a certain shape and men have a certain shape. And it's very, very transphobic. They ought to find a way to not have machines identify us just on our body shape. So there are a lot of trans women who don't have bottom surgery, and in that case, it can be a real problem.
That's firstly incredible that you recognize these and you're able to share this and be so candid, so thank you. And clearly there is something that needs to be addressed. And I think my next question for you would be, I've spoken to a lot of queer travel experts, and many of them have said that it's important for us, where possible, to go to different countries who do not have the same LGBTQ+ rights as, say, the US or Europe, and act as sort of ambassadors. Do you agree with this?
I think that if you're going to a country that is holding pride celebrations, you're going to feel so accepted and so wonderful. Sweden, Canada, Norway, all those countries. If you're going to a country that used to be under British rule, India, a lot of the Caribbean, Barbados, Jamaica, or Malawi, or Qatar, you're going to be facing incredible discrimination.
Right.
And by being the person who thinks they're going to wave the pride flag, you're going to end up either beaten, arrested, both, possibly executed. It's the death penalty to be gay.
Right. So I guess to see your stance on that, and it's best to take precaution and to be safe. So
I would advise that if you want to be a trendsetter, that you also want to come back alive.
Right.
So pick carefully. And when people travel, they ought to travel for fun, for excitement, for acceptance. There are places where you have to understand the culture, not the government.
Right.
Maybe the government says they have no laws against being gay or being transgender, but the culture says, don't flaunt that stuff.
Now, changing direction a little bit, what are some of your favorite places to travel?
Well, my heritage is Ireland. So I've taken my children to Ireland. I have family in Ireland. It's one of my favorite places to go. I was in London for Pride in 2019. I love that whole part of the world. Scotland was a new discovery for me. But I have so many islands in the Caribbean that I'm a little worried about visiting again. My honeymoon was St. Lucia, one of the most gorgeous islands in the world. And it's honestly not a great place for LGBT people. I would love to be able to travel to China, to Indonesia, to Japan. That would be my bucket list.
So thank you so much, Dawn, for sharing your stories and truly giving some sage wisdom for me and for all of our viewers.
Happy to do it.
Well, that's all for me in Japan Village. Remember that New York has something new and exciting to explore all the time. And next time you're in Brooklyn, head on over to Industry City and don't forget to get some of those delicious noodles. Join me next time as we explore another destination in New York that will hopefully inspire you to travel somewhere new. And remember, check your luggage.
For more information on all the destinations and businesses mentioned in this episode, please visit Vacationer.travel.